That's what's up. That's what's up. Well, we're gonna go ahead and get into this thing, man, and we're gonna let a topic that we've talked about plenty of on this show. Topic that I've talked about. You know, we talked about mental health. Let me show the book, Miss Kenya's book. Here we go. Y'all can see that. Entitlement of the Mind. And you want to get into a little bit what the book is about?
Yeah. So this book, The Entanglement of the Mind, The Struggles of Mental Health While Finding You, is actually a personal story. It's my story, but it's also an informational book. You read something that you've enjoyed it, but it talks about my struggles with mental health, bipolar, PTSD, and personality disorder. So it talks about how I was raised in foster care and the struggles of coming to grips that I was diagnosed and accepting it as an adult and living as a single mother and a Black woman at that. So the book is really a good read. I'm not saying that because I'm the author, but it really is a good read.
It is a good read. I'll co-sign that. It is a very good read. I mean, it's very personal, and me myself, I suffer from depression at times, and it's a lot to take. There's a lot of things in there.
Thank you. Can I ask you what stuck out to you in the book?
Well, this one right here, because I'm only halfway through it, but this one right here, you say you were institutionalized to dysfunction. Oh. Yeah, and you said institutionalized to dysfunction. Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Well, institutionalized, when I was.
Hold on, we coming. Hold. I think we lost it for a minute.
Derek.
Okay.
Can you guys hear me?
Okay.
There you go, Kenya.
Okay,
Yeah,
you have to rewind a little bit.
Yeah, start from the beginning.
Okay. The thing was, I never So I was institutionalized because I was in the foster care system, first of all, raised by white people, then was thrown into the mental institution, and I kept wanting to go back to the mental institution. So I was being molded into an institutionalized individual, and then grew up as an adult with an institutionalized mind. So I had dysfunction. Dysfunction and chaos was what I knew. It was all too normal. I mean, if there was no dysfunction, my life was not normal. It was something wrong if it was peaceful. Does that make any sense?
So
do you see why people
like that?
But
they say, I know who she's talking about. So
He said he knows some people like that.
Yeah, you know how people do.
Right. And so at that moment in my life, I turned 34 and I knew something wasn't right. I'm raising children by myself and I'm like, this is dysfunctional. I can't hold on to anything. I can't complete anything. I'm causing fights, causing arguments, wanting to argue with men, wanting to argue with people, and it was just chaotic. So I knew right then and there that the diagnosis that I received at 15 was real. I began to research it. I began to look it up, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to go get some counseling, and I'm going to go get some medication. I'm going to get some help. So there's the reality of my story. That's how I came to realize I was institutionalized in the mind.
Wow, that's a great story. That's a great journey, and I'm glad to hear that you overcame your journey and what you've been through. And I haven't got a chance to read the book yet. I was waiting for him to get done. But it definitely sounds like a good read. It definitely sounds like something I can relate to in some ways. I haven't been in the foster home or anything, but I definitely can understand mental health and what it's like to go through mental health. And for you to even have the courage to even say, I need help, there's something wrong, I need help, is powerful in itself. I think that's a great move.
Thank you.
I will say this though, like reading it, And like talking to you today, it seemed like as though it's like that couldn't have been her. You know what I mean? It's like how you describe yourself before. It's like night and day almost. It seems.
I've had a few readers tell me, Kenya, is this a true story? And I'm like, yes, it's a true story. Because the person that they know now in my personal life, but I have to give, first of all, God, the I am creator. I have to give myself, and the doctors and people the therapists that I had for 4 years. And I had to realize that I can't sit here and help somebody else, not even my own children, if I don't realize something is not right. And so I am not the same person. I'm still growing. Mental health doesn't go away. You know this, right? Yeah. So I'm living with mental health. But the difference is I'm healthy. And I recognize it and I accept it. I'm not in denial anymore. I think you read the chapter about denial, because I think that becomes before institution.
Yeah.
So I was in denial for a long time. I was embarrassed. I was ashamed. I wanted nobody to know. I was like, who's ever going to marry me? Who's ever going to date me? Who's going to be with me? Or, oh my God, she's crazy. And a lot of times we joke about it. We're like, oh, you're bipolar. I've even done it because it's something it's easy just to kind of rub it off and shake it off instead of dealing with it, especially in the Black community.
Yeah, so taboo to deal with your mental health. And to even be mentally ill is so taboo in our community.
Absolutely. And then when you hear people say therapy, no one wants to go talk to people because in this society today, even talking to a therapist is deemed as crazy or you're being normal. Like, I don't know what normal is. People say you're normal. What is normal? What does normal look like?
Yeah. What is the baseline for normal?
That is true.
Yeah. And I think one thing too, that's before you get into what's up, Patrick Bubba Cole, that I think now you having to push though. A lot of people are understanding that you have to take care of your mental health as well as your physical health. You know what I mean? You mentioned a lot in the book about spirituality, you know what I mean, and tapping into that energy. And I think nowadays it's like people are really starting to take that seriously and trying to, understand, especially when you have kids commit suicide and things like that. You know what I mean? It's a real thing. Like it's not something we can just brush over like we brushed over before. I don't think people are taking it a lot more serious nowadays than ever have before.
I think part of that is because of how crazy it's gotten, and people are expecting you to be mentally ill because of all the craziness that's going around. So yeah, I do agree that saying that I have a problem and I need help, it's not as taboo as it was back then, years ago.
Right. And Lisa, I like what you just said about, like, especially with what's going on now, and then what Derek said about spirituality. The reason I talk about that so much, I meditate a lot. Like I said, my brand is liberate, innovate, and empower. Liberate the soul, innovate the mind, and empower the heart. I believe that we have to give in order to get back. You have to give that oneness that we all are connected, all that love and all that power and all that strength that we have. No matter what you've been through, you still have a strength inside of you. You still have a determination. And I believe we have to share it with the world in order to get it back within ourselves. The source. We are one with the source. Yeah. And so that's what I believe. That's what I carry in my heart, is if I give back, then I get that back. Even if it doesn't seem like it sometimes because people are selfish, but even in that, you have to find the good, even in the selfishness. And there's always good in everything that we go through.
Yep, I agree.
Country Boy Cup, he said, I'm just coming to terms with the fact that I need therapy. I'm nuts.
Hey man, well, to even admit that on Patrick Bubba Boy Cole's part is a big thing. A lot of us that grow up with traumas, and traumas that are never answered. There's some of us who have had broken homes, some of us who've been beaten, molested, the whole nine, and we've never had any counseling or anything. Your parents growing up in the Black household, coming up in the early 80s, late 80s, late 70s, 60s, they probably told you to pray about it. And, it was never answered. It's still that thing that it's like a mental block. It may be trauma dealing with racism every single day. You know, people don't realize that we feel it. You go places, you feel it. It's oppressive. It's thick. Police getting behind you. Being black and having mental issues, and then having a stigma that you can't go see someone for these mental issues is a dual-edged
And it
sword.
ain't even that you can't go. It's like you don't want to go.
You don't want to go because you don't want that blanket on you. So Kenya, what's your suggestion for people who are going through that, who've had past traumas, and let's be honest, you're gonna struggle in relationships. You're gonna struggle with yourself. You're gonna struggle with your self-esteem. It may make you narcissistic. It may make you selfish. It may make you accusatory. What should these people be doing? If you can relate it to whatever happened in your journey, and then maybe talking to others to make sure that they go seek mental help.
It's funny that you mentioned narcissism. I actually have a chapter in the book about narcissism. I actually for a minute too. We all have a form of narcissism. There's been narcissism and being narcissistic at times. But what I would suggest, you don't have to tell everybody that you're going to therapy. Everybody doesn't have to know. But if you love you enough, I suggest you go get healthy so that those surrounding you and those in your life as well are healthy and you're not affecting them as well. When you recognize the signs, I suggest acceptance. That's the first thing, is accepting. A lot of us don't want to accept it. I went through rape, molestation. I had a child from rape. I've been through domestic violence. I've been through quite a few things, but I'm not a victim. But the thing about it was, I was at one point, and I had to accept that this happened and then forgive myself. If you forgive yourself from these past traumas, because a lot of us blame ourselves, and then forgive the person, you'll feel such a liberation within yourself. It'll be so different that you'll want to get help. So my suggestion is, do it for you. This is not about society or what they have to say or how they're going to deem you or look at you. It's about you and your personal journey and your personal walk and how you want to live your life, period. That's my suggestion.
Oh, that's wonderful. I mean, that's a great suggestion. I think that it's people still we deal with trauma every single day. Mm-hmm. I think all of us, all three of us sitting here, we have past that, certain things have happened that we've never really come to grips with. With me being 10 years old, having two people come in and rob my house, beat me up, and lock us in the basement. That was one of the most traumatic things to me. I mean, that was the first time I ever had a gun in my face.
Wow.
But when the last time, we deal with police trauma. When the police stopped us and they used to abuse us and do certain things like that. And, you build up this anger. How do you deal with the anger, Kenya?
I have a chapter in the book about that too. So now I will be honest, I'm very transparent. Derek knows this about me. Anger is something I'm still working on. That is an area of my life. That's why I still get therapy. I have a bad temper. And when you continue to, when I get to a certain limit in my life, I still kind of explode. So that's an area I'm still working on. So I suggest therapy until you get it under wraps, period. Anger is something that a lot of us suffer with. We don't know how to control that, but I've gotten a lot better. I used to destroy property. I don't destroy property anymore. Now it's really my mouth and my words. And so what I did was, I'm gonna bring this book up. This is my first book. I do daily affirmations. So I wrote a 31-day affirmation book to help me with my temper. So every time I would feel angry or feel upset, I would go in the mirror and I would write a paragraph on how my thoughts were. And then I did a positive affirmation. So this book is full of my thoughts and my anger and all of that. And then I did an affirmation to the opposite of positivity. So affirmations work for anger. When you're angry, walk away, breathe, think about the consequences, because there's consequences with your temper. You can either hurt someone physically, mentally, emotionally. My children were affected by my temper the most. And that's why we had to get family counseling. So my suggestion is therapy. I really believe people need to get anger management and therapy and learn how to cope with that anger. And because anger is a secondary emotion. People don't know that. We think it's a first emotion, but it's not. It's a secondary. You're angry about the initial thing that happened. If you were, like you said, someone stuck a gun in your face. So that fear. So now you're afraid. That was the first thing that you felt. And now it's like, I've got to retaliate, which turns into anger. So mine was, I was abused. My mother left me, which was rejection. And my father was in prison. So now I'm in foster care. I'm rejected, so now let me act out because you need to feel my rage and you need to feel my anger.
And you know, the bottom line when we talk about therapy, we talk about this show almost weekly, self-awareness.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Because the thing is, like in my instance, you know, understanding that I was depressed was a big step because I didn't realize what I was, I was just, I was like a zombie almost, you know what I mean? I didn't realize that I was having these feelings. I didn't realize that I was dealing with certain things. I was just living, like you said, we have past trauma and you just move on to the next and you move on to the next and you're not really aware how this stuff is affecting you. And so
Right.
really the thing about sitting down and really becoming self-aware, like, oh snap, I'm depressed. That's what it, you know what I mean? And understanding why am I? Oh, okay. I need to go back to this and go back to that, and then you start peeling the layers back, and you start to see why you feel the way you feel it instead of just acting, and then don't even know, what I'm saying, why you acting or just shutting in, and when somebody say something, you kind of just, I know I was just kind of shut down and whatever, and I didn't realize. You know what I mean? Never even realized. So that realization, that self-awareness is such a big key to mental health. For even somebody to say I need help, you have to realize, you have to first be aware enough to say I need help.
Yeah.
And a lot of people just aren't even aware.
Well, how does pride play in that, Kenya? Does people pride get in the way of them seeking help, or would dare say admitting that, hey, something not right there?
Yeah, pride, like it's kind of like you're protecting yourself, and that's good. That was good. I like that. I should have probably put it in the book. But anyways, pride is a form of protection. When you think about it, it's kind of like there's nothing wrong with me. No one's gonna ever say there's anything wrong with me. I've already been through enough. So I know that mine was fear and pride, but most of the time mine was mostly judge. I didn't want the judgment of people. And so pride steps in and says, I don't want you judging me. I don't want you looking at me and saying, you're crazy, And so, yeah, of course, pride is probably the number one factor. If you think about it, you don't want to accept, you don't want to accept you. You don't want to accept the truth about what you're feeling. So you're worried about everybody else and their thought process and all of that extra stuff. So, yeah, I believe so.
How does social norms play into that, though? Do you think that certain social norms or what society expects of you contributes to you not seeking mental health? And by the way, people, we're talking to Kenya Young, author of The Entanglement of the Mind. Derek's holding that book up to you. So, how does that play into it, Kenya?
All I know is that I remember going to church. Let me share a story. I remember going to church, and they kept saying I had a demon. Now, mind you, I knew it wasn't a demon. So, okay, like, you done had me at the altar 15 times.
Lay hands on you.
We gonna pray for this girl right here. Oh, woo, we got Kenya.
The hell's a
I'm sorry, we laughing. Go ahead, Kenya. She trying to talk.
It's funny when I look back at it now. So when you think about this, that the social norm, you got a demon, pray it out, read your Bible. No, that ain't a demon. That's me hurting. That's me having a chemical imbalance. That's me going through all these past traumas. Talk to me, get to know me, ask me what the problem is. Ask me what I'm feeling inside when I'm sitting there wanting to kill myself or wanting to stab somebody else because they done brought up old memories. When I say my temper was so bad, I was a knife puller. That my son became a knife puller. He actually fought 8 cops at 12 years old. So you have to be careful with all this social norm, and people don't want to receive help because we're worried about society. No, what's normal? Again, what is normal? I'm normal. Just because I have a chemical imbalance doesn't mean I'm not normal. I just need a little extra help. Now if I would have kept going down that path of not acceptance and wanting to hide it so that I could fit in with society, that's not normal. That's abnormal. That's dysfunction. That's saying, well, I want to fit in so bad so you can accept me that I'm going to keep being dysfunctional and then raise dysfunctional kids and wonder why this generation is halfway crazy. That was wrong for 2 generations, to be honest with you. Us parents, a lot of us parents, raising them and being dysfunctional, telling them you're just like your daddy, you're just like this, you remind me of this, you remind me of that, and then wonder why they're acting crazy. Because you don't want to get the help because you want to be normal, whatever normal is. So that's my take on it.
Please ask that.
So, did you have any issues with your loved ones or close family, or close friends, maybe criticizing you, judging you, or saying stuff to you in a negative way, like, "Oh, that's just you being crazy," things like that? And if you did, how did you deal with that?
But again, growing up in the foster care system, and then I met my real mom, Lord rest her soul, she died 2 years ago, and I met my real dad, he's still alive. My dad's side of the family was very, very judgmental when I met them, and I wanted their acceptance so bad, you guys, that I would just let them basically mentally abuse me. So it made it worse. They would always say, "You're just doing that for attention. There's nothing wrong with you. We don't have that in our family." Let me tell you something. I know bipolar came from my daddy's side. Okay, them jokers is something else. Okay, so I know where that came. All right, so but once I had to pull away from my family for like 2 years and break free from the spirit of wanting to be accepted by them so bad. And once I did that, now I can be around them. And I wrote the book, and they're all in the book. Look, this is what it is. And now they praise me basically. "Oh, we're proud of you. Oh, good job. Now you're proud of me? You're bipolar. Let's all of us get some counseling." And I think it's important for families to come together and get help together on a serious note. So yes, I did deal with that. And it was very hard because, like I said, I already wanted them to accept me because they didn't raise me. And I was raised by other people. So yeah, it was pretty difficult, that part of my life.
That's what's fair. Patrick Boy Cole said, "I'm no therapist, but I know that church could be devastating to your mental well-being."
Yes.
What's up, Miss Veronica Thornton?
Yeah, so many times when you're going through stuff, a lot of people just say, "Let's just pray about it."
Yeah.
But it still is unresolved. And I'm glad that you articulated the way you did, so people who are going through that. What would you say to someone right now who's probably contemplating suicide? I mean, we're in a pandemic. You got people locked in. You got people who are unemployed, probably can't pay their bills right now, really stressed. What would you say to somebody who's on the precipice of probably hurting themselves?
First of all, I would say I love you. I know I don't know you, but I love you with my energy, and send light, love, and power your way. And that if you have to go check yourself, I am a big advocate. Go get some help. Your life is so important. I know that it may not seem like it. I know that, I struggled with suicidal ideation for a long time. My daughter, she struggles with it still. I just know that you have a value, and you are a great asset to this world. And there is nothing that, it may seem like it, but there's nothing that you cannot overcome. And think about the things that you've already overcome in this life, that you can overcome this battle, whatever it may be, being without a job, feeling unloved, not loving yourself, whatever it may be, that suicide is playing in your mind. It's not worth it. You have too much to live for. And I don't like, how people tell people that they're selfish if they do that. I don't tell people that, because I feel like that's a manipulation. So all I can say is go talk to someone ASAP, tell someone what you're feeling, and let's do something about it. There's a suicide hotline. I don't have the number, but you can look it up. Inbox me, Kenya Young. We can talk. Been there, done that. Took 16 bottles of pills. Had to get my stomach pumped. I'm still here. So it's not worth it.
Kenya, could you tell people where they can get your book from? Where you order your book from?
You can actually contact me on Facebook until my website's done, or you can go on Amazon.com. And it's called The Entanglement of the Mind by Kenya R. Young. So again, you can get it on Amazon, or you can contact me, Kenya Young, personally on my inbox, and I can mail you a copy, a signed copy.
I'm telling y'all, check it out, man. It is a very good book. And I definitely recommend it. I think it's something that anybody can tap into, and you can relate to it, even if you didn't go through some of those things. There's a lot of things in there that you can really relate to. So I definitely recommend it. We want to thank you, Kenya, for joining us, being on the show.
You guys are awesome, and a shout out to your show. I'm gonna let everybody know to start tuning in. I love it, and thank you again for having me.
Yeah, we're happy.
Thank you
Yeah.
We got to have you back. Thank you for joining us. That's Kenya R. Young, people. The Entanglement of the Mind.
Check that out again real quick.
Got that up.
See that?
Kenya, do you have Instagram? Give me your Instagram.
I do have Instagram. My Instagram is speaker at Kenya Young.
Speaker at Kenya Young. Y'all go ahead. Follow her. Follow her on social. Buy her book. More importantly, buy the book. Thank you, Kenya, for joining us.
Thank you. Bye.
All right, now.
All right.